minutes. Please go to the chat section and introduce yourself. Just quickly tell us your name, what you do, and what you expect from this training. Your name, what you do, and your name, what you do, name of your company, and what you expect from this training. Right. Yeah, so we can just do that on the chat section. My colleagues will be on standby to collate a lot of data.
Section.
Right. You can also.
That's how we should introduce ourselves.
Yeah, so you can go to the chat section. I'm hoping my colleagues are there to moderate a lot of the conversations, right? So that there isn't too much noise, too much distractions, and all that. So once in a while you'll be muted if we feel like you are maybe your network is bad or you're talking over someone, right? So we're going to start in the next 3 minutes. So please just go to chat section, introduce yourself. I see people already doing that. So Owolabi Oluwa Tosing says, "Hell, my name is Tosing. I'm the MD of Fountain Meds Pharmacy." Okay, interesting. Okay, she hopes to learn how to scale my business without burning out. Interesting. That's a dilemma a lot of people are in, right? So hopefully we'll sort that out. All right, so let's keep the introductions coming. Oluwa Tosing, it's good to have you here. Hopefully we'd ask a few questions and then it would help us make this more practical. Mohammed, you're here. I didn't know we were going to make it. Sorry, I haven't even responded to your message. I'm pretty sorry about it. Mohammed, can you hear me? If you can hear me, please unmute your mic. Right. So, Mohammed, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine.
I'm sorry I haven't. It's really been a crazy day. I just had to run back home just in time to have this session. You know, this session is inspired by me and your conversation in Dubai, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so Abby, you know, the original plan for this was just for you to basically be the co-facilitator, because I love when you started the conversation about the e-meets and we talked about all the dramas that I think me and you share a lot of things in common. We started business at a quite very early age and we've really been entrepreneurs also. So we'll just talk about the challenges that we have. So I'll be willing, right, to share this platform with you, right? So at any point, feel free to interject and throw more light into the conversation. Is that okay?
Okay, it's okay. I appreciate the opportunity.
No problem. Mafa, I'll put you on the spot as we start. So tell us what your view about systemization is, right? And then in between, I'm going to share slides and stuff. For people who are at the last session, my apologies, we haven't still sent you the PowerPoint, right? My team has really been busy. I came back to Nigeria and just a lot of backlog of work. But you definitely will get that. But at least you have your data in terms of your email and phone numbers. We'll try to reach all of us. So we have quite a considerable amount of people here. So I feel like we can start. Let me just give shout out to the people who've sent, who's chatted to say what they do and who they are. So Purple Plethora says, oh, that's Mr. Kuro. Oga Kuro, you're here. So Kuro is called Mr. Kuro John Ngobo, one of the diehard. I think he's moved from being a student to being an Egbon, and yeah, Kuro is a lead consultant at Purple Concept. Me and you, we still haven't done our collabo. It will happen, don't worry.
Yes,
it will. Okay, Mr. Love. I haven't seen Mr. Love since he ran away from Lagos to Warri years ago, right? Mr. Love says, my name is Love Enabule. He's the ED of Operations Colo Plus Worldwide Services. Why are you being humble now? Which one is ED again? You're the MD CEO now. Okay, Colo Plus. As I give shout out, feel free to unmute your mic and say hello, right? Mrs. Zina Ovasi. Okay, let me not even have discussion about Mrs. Zina here. Somebody has been sharing our time. How is the baby doing, Mrs. Zina?
She's fine. Hi, everyone. She's very, very fine. Thank you so much.
Expect a call from me, right? So the books I bought, I bought a few copies of the book. They're actually all gone. Everybody comes and steals it, and everybody just seems to have seem to relate to the book through someone they know. So please, I would have to get a few more copies. Yes. And your story is amazing. Wow. Someday we'll get to share it a lot more. But how is the baby doing?
Thank you. She's fine. She's done 9 months. She's 2 days ago.
So very soon now the bride price is going high. Bride price. If the guy did not go to Harvard or Stanford, we should not even bother. We can't even do the introduction. All right, thank you very much. Alison says, okay, Alison is the MD of Regal Engineering Services. Okay, so let's just deep dive. Please keep the chat coming on, your name, what you do, and what you expect from this training, right? I think that's perfect.
Hello, Izu.
Mr. Love, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, and you? I'm still with you here in Lagos.
When did you come back?
I came back about a year ago. I just went to set up my farm there. That was all. I came back again. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I said worry. It's Benin now, not worry.
Benin. It's Benin. Yeah, it's Benin.
Oh, okay. Is your office still in phase 1?
Yes, phase 1, yes.
Okay, so maybe one of these days, hopefully next week, I can stop by. Okay,
no problem.
God has done it. I will stop by. Let's do a lot of catching up.
No problem. Thank you. Good to see you.
All right, guys. So, yeah. All right. So, you see what's going on is that we seem to have a lot of relationship with most of the people here, which is one of the things I want to discuss in terms of creating systems, right? Of course, this part is a subsystem called relationship management system. So, we have sort of like a sound relationship management system, which we help that relationship system, even though we're all busy and we're all over the place, we still, to a large extent, have some very genuine relationship with people, even beyond business, right? So, and of course, that is made possible because early days of Xavier, we had created the relationship management system called a community, and that community was named Xavier Business Club. So a lot of people who are here belong to the business club. A few years ago, we used to be a bit, even more closer before COVID and all the social distancing things started, right? So hopefully I'll touch more light on how you can join the business community, just in case you feel like you're not close enough, because that community is supposed to be a family, right? So let's deep dive. My name is Izu, right? Izu is spelled as E-I-Z-U. Happen to be the MD of Xavier, right? So a lot of things I'll be discussing today, I will be sharing I'm using case studies of things I can relate with, clients, projects, and even my own business. I think this is a conversation that is heart to heart, from one MD to another MD. I assume that 80% of the workforce here, or people who are here, are probably MDs, so they know what the challenge is with not having a system. A lot of people run businesses like candles, right? So you burn down trying to give light, right? You burn almost every CEO I know, right, starts up as a technician, right? And who just is good at what he does. I think that's all that matters. I was also in that trap at some point, even till real late, right? Where I just felt like all that really mattered to run Xavier was just to be good at consulting. But that became its own dilemma and its own side effect to growth, because you spend so much time doing consulting work and every other business you're consulting is growing and yours isn't growing because you don't understand how to move from that technician level to a manager and then an eventual CEO, right? So I'll break down a lot of that, right? I think business itself is just a vehicle, right? It's a vehicle to bring its owner more life, right? Business itself is a vehicle to bring its owner more life. It's supposed to be a vehicle to take you to all the greater parts of life, help you have a better family, help you have a better health, help you have a better revenue stream and money. But that vehicle that's supposed to bring the owner more life seems to be taking away that life. It takes away all of our life. We really don't have lives. I know a lot of successful people who have finally gone top of that place, but they're divorced, don't have a family, and you engage the other party who divorced the person, and you find out that it was just that he didn't have time for them. So you were trying to make all the money so you can have time for your family, and then in the process of making that money, you lose your family. Penny wise, pounds foolish, right? So I'm going to break down what an average Nigerian business is and what it should be, right? So we're going to compare both notes. So once again, my name is Izu, MD of Xavier. Xavier is a business and management consulting firm. A few months ago, I promised us that we're going to have this series as often as possible. I will try to keep it free so that more people can join, and I think we'll be able to keep our words. So this, once again, is a free session, but of course, it's brought to you courtesy of sponsored brands. So what we've done as a change of model is make it free and have other brands sponsor. So maybe in between, one of the brands can come and just talk about their brand. So for the next session, if you want us to feature your brand, right, as a sponsor, you can always chat us up, right? So Izu is the MD of Xavier, spent 10 years building businesses. Corporate restructuring is what I'm very, very good at, and then startup consulting. So we try to organize madhouses, right? Spent 10 years doing business. I have 2 masters, started my PhD, and have a PMP and over 10 certifications, right? That's just to get out of the way, but that's not where a lot of this conversation is coming from. So a lot of that academic, my conversation will come from a lot of practical experiences I've had, right? So let's deep dive. Today's section is called Systemization and Structure in Business. Mohammed, let me ask you, what does systemization mean in business?
Okay, systemization simply means setting up our business in a way that it can run with or without us. That is basically what it means. And it started from the beginning. What differentiates a big company and a small company is the fact that they have a system in place. Because if your system if the business cannot run without you, then what you have is a glorified job. And it's very easy to actually set up system, but it has to do firstly with the mindset. So basically, if business cannot run without you, you don't have a system. But you can start system journey gradually.
Yeah. Okay, to make this interesting, right? So I was on vacation and I happened to spend a lot of time with Mohammed, right? Mohammed also is he's a client and also a partner in some of the things we're going to work on, right? So when we were in Dubai, we just had a lot of conversations, and one thing that made both of us gel was the fact that we have read almost the same type of books. We think alike, you know, we started business really early and all that. But he's also one person who I think has a system that runs. Matter of fact, to practically show that, after I stayed in Dubai for a few weeks, and then I was running back, right? So even though, yes, the business still can run without, I still didn't want to lose the rush of January, because for we in consulting, December and January is our peak period. A lot of people are doing retreats, strategy sessions, corporate restructuring. People just want to get better, you know, and he still stayed back. Mohammed, remind me, are you still in Dubai?
I'm still in Dubai.
Right. So it's an attestation to show that, okay, this guy has built a very solid system where he can extend. We all had plans of coming back, going at the same time and coming back at the same time, right? But of course, he's even stayed back a lot more, you know, and I feel like, okay, they say men lie, women lie, numbers don't. In other words, data doesn't lie, right? By data, we've sort of been able to have that type of structure that runs. And I'll share some of my secrets to building a great system, right? We're still under construction, considering that I've had 10 years in business and over 100 more years to go. I really want to run a business that can live 200, 300 years way after I'm gone. You know, I was reading something about a pharmaceutical company that was celebrating its 340-something year. You know, and I thought that was fantastic. I mean, Guinness is over 100 years, the Guinness brand. So we're just going to explain and break down what it takes to be able to run that type of company, right? So it'd be safe to just deep dive into it, right? Mohammed, in all of your conversations around system, what book would you say is the most powerful read in systemization?
Well,
and do you want to throw more light on it?
Yes, He Might Revisited by Michael Gilbert. Why most small business fails and what to do about them. That's the theme of the book. Even from the title of the book, He Might, Entrepreneurial Might. So it's self-explanatory because people have a lot of fallacy about the game of business. So basically, there are three things we need as an entrepreneur: the technical skill, the managerial skill, and the entrepreneurial skill itself. But most people, they start a business as a technician, suffering from what we call an entrepreneurial seizure. That I'm working with a boss, I can do this job, let me start my own. And the fact that you are good in plumbing or you are good in cooking does not mean you can run a successful restaurant business. Because what it takes to run the business aspect of a restaurant is different from what it takes to cook a very delicious meal. But most entrepreneurs, they only have the technical skill, which is very, very important at the beginning of the business. But as the business grows, you now need the managerial skill. Then you all now need the entrepreneurial skill. So we have the infancy stage. We also have the infancy stage of the business, and we have the maturity stage of the business. So what is key is that we have the three skill that is important, which is the technical skill, managerial skill, and the entrepreneurial skill. So in the beginning, we focus more on the technical skill, which is the four of the business. Then as the business grows, now need to get managers that manage more technicians. Then gradually, we now need the entrepreneurial perspective to be able to set up a very big vision.
Okay, so sorry, I would make this back and forth, right? And at any point, anyone can feel free to jump in, right? So we're just gonna take this in beats, right? So I hope to do this a lot more, like put someone on the spot, a client on the spot so if I'm talking about a particular subject matter in any of our training, I will look at any of my clients that have done well in that subject matter, right? So if I'm talking about maybe the next training on marketing and strategy, if I know any client that I know his marketing strategy works well, thanks to what we've probably built or whatever it is, right? We'll put the person on the spot and other people can join just as feedback so that conversations can be more interactive. So, Mohammed, I like the thoughts about 3 ladders, right? And for anybody who is listening to this right now, the first brutal question you want to ask yourself, because you have to confront the brutal fact and ask yourself the hard questions and be able to have the hard answers. So when you start up your business, for most people, they are just technicians. So there are 3 levels. I like to draw it as a diagram, as a ladder, right? A pyramid with 3 parts, bottom up. So the first bottom is, the bottom itself is the technician, where a lot of businesses are. We all like to say we're all CEOs. Even the woman that is selling just hair on Instagram, she's the CEO. Now, the full meaning of CEO means Chief Executive Officer. If you're a chief, it means that you run a village, right? Chief comes from the localized concept of Ubuntu, which is the African way of leadership, right? So every African area has a hamlet or a village, right? And then you have the head of that village is called a chief. So for it to be called a chief executive officer means that you have a team. So even people that don't have teams call themselves chief executive officer, which is wrong. So a lot of people say they are CEOs, but they're just on the bottom, which is technician. So I'm going to narrow this down to 3 layers. Technician, like Mr. Mohammed said, and then the middle level is the manager, and then the top level is the entrepreneur. The first question you want to ask yourself is, which one am I really as the owner of the business? Am I a technician? Am I a manager? Or am I the actual entrepreneur, which is what you call the CEO? Of course, by default, everybody would think they're CEOs, but by the way you run your business, you might be a technician. And the problem with being a technician is you can never scale. One, you can never run a business that can be sold to a bigger company. And don't forget, the year 2000 came up with a new concept of business, which is called the build to flip. 80% of businesses that are built not to even become 100 years business. They're built to literally be sold to a bigger company, right? So the guy that started YouTube eventually sold it to Google. The guy that started WhatsApp eventually sold it to Facebook. Even locally, it's not left out. InterSwitch was one of our biggest pride. InterSwitch sold 25% of their equity last year, right, to, I can't remember what company it is, right, for $250 million, which makes them the first Nigerian unicorn. Now, unicorn is any business that is worth over $1 billion in capitalization, right? So you see, there's a lot of buying and selling of businesses. Of course, the latest one would be the Paystack story, right? So Paystack eventually sold to Stripe, right, which is one of the biggest deals ever made from Nigeria, right? So, but for you to get to that point where you can sell your business, it has to be organized and structured, and the result must be duplicatable. And once you can't do that, you possibly would not be called an entrepreneur. You're just self-employed. You're a technician, like he said. And a lot of people make this mistake. You might have even made this mistake in setting up your business. So let me assume you work in a restaurant, right? And then you're a very good cook. And then you have a boss, and your boss pisses you off, or every time your boss keeps pissing you off, you come to the conclusion that you can cook better food than your boss, right? Or you're into construction, you work in Julius Berger, and you think you're the best project manager, right? Or even the best foreman. And then somebody approaches you and says, oh, you're the best foreman here. Let me pull you out and let's start up a business together. Typical Nigerian story. You think that because you're good at what you do and you set up a business, that you're going to succeed. Matter of fact, another problem is people not being good at what they do, just people being passionate about what they do. So a lot of people are passionate about what they do, right? So because they think they're passionate, I think motivational speakers don't even make this easy, right? Our aspire to perspire people, right? They tell you follow your passion. So a lot of people start businesses based on their passion. But the reality about it is that your passion might be the only reason why you end up as a technician. So passion is be good at what you do, put your heart into what you do, and create results from what you do. But what you do is not as important as why you do it, right? So you're good at what you do, but the why is missing in terms of purpose, big vision. So you're going to have that one guy who worked in Coscharis, who was a mechanical engineer in Coscharis. Somebody approached him, gave him small money, told him to open a small shop. He opened a small shop, and he will never grow as big as Coscharis. Once again, because he's a technician. So this conversation is about how can you move from being a technician? Technicians never scale. So most Nigerian businesses are just technicians. They're just in that bottom pyramid, right? Of being too in the business. I think the right word would be being inside the business. Every day they're in the daily operations of that business and they don't scale. So if you're sitting down now and you spend 70% of your time at work doing your business, the business, you can't scale. So these are just simple checklists. Here's what I'm saying. I'm a business consultant. We do a lot of business plan, right? We do a lot of consulting. If every time I go to Xavier, I spend 70% of my day writing a business plan, I cannot scale. If you're sitting down now, let me just use that for example. Let me go back to the people introducing themselves, right? Okay, so someone says, "Hi, I'm Uyele Emmanuel, right? I work with Omni Helicopters Nigeria." Okay, so I'm not sure I know Uyele Emmanuel very well, but let me assume that Emmanuel is a pilot and he runs a helicopter business called Omni Helicopters. He can't scale if all he does in the Omni Helicopters is to fly helicopters. He can't scale, right? Now that's really the trap where most of us are. So you're a makeup artist, and then you run a makeup brand, but you spend a lot of time in your store doing makeup. You can't scale, right? The work is because you're working in the business, you have to now step out and work on your business. We get to how to get that done, right? So I think that's a clear-cut difference between a technician and a manager, if you ask me, right? It's a major problem where people are, right? The major challenge where people are in their business. They're just in that place where they're working in the business, right, and not working on the business. So they're very operational, because in the business means you're operational, right? On the business, right, means that you are on top of the business, you're discussing strategy, you're discussing top-level networking, and that's really a major part of it. So technician supplies the output, right, and it's a rat race. You keep supplying the output, right, you're on the rat race. Now, when you become a manager, you don't supply the output, you supply order, right, because that order is what it takes to duplicate the process, right? You have to have order, right? So if you find yourself shouting a lot, right, in your business, you're probably still a technician, even though you have staff, right? You find yourself, when you move your eyes from the ball, they do things wrongly, right? And then you need to shout, they come back and do the same thing right again. You are probably still a technician, right? And then if you don't have any system, which is the key word for today, which is a system, and remember what Mohammed said a system is designed, right, to work without you, right? The system is any framework that you have that is designed so that you don't have to work without you. But really, even what we call system is a set of interdependent systems, because you have to have HR system, production system, accounting system, marketing system. We're going to get to sort of that. But even being in the middle, which is the manager, is not good enough. Remember, the technician supplies the output, the manager supplies the order. That's not even where you need to be. You need to be the entrepreneur. And what does the entrepreneur supply? The entrepreneur supplies the vision. He supplies the vision. So Mohammed, I don't know if you want to throw more light on the supplies, what the three supply, and how you were able to move from just being a technician to being an entrepreneur.
Okay, interesting. Well, the issue with being a technician is that most people are passionate about what they do, and it's not their fault. It's because they've been told by motivational speakers that be passionate about what you do. So because of that, an architect wants to design all the houses himself. The cook wants to cook all the cook himself. So what is actually one is about mindset, because the more people you can serve, the more money you can make. And you cannot make money at an high level if you don't have many people that are working under you. So I think the first thing we need to let our people know is to have that perspective of, I want to serve many people. And because I want to serve many people, I have to create a system in place that can be able to run. to serve many people. So that will force you to move from that technician mindset to a top level mindset, which will automatically force you to have managers that will manage the technicians. But if you are a startup and you are starting your business on your own, it's not a bad thing. Only that as you are starting on the different aspects of your business, start documenting it in a way that if anybody comes in, they can be able to do what you do. Of course, what I did in my own business is that gradually I started systemizing all the aspects of my business gradually, and I was very intentional about it, including even the phone number we use for our business. Because if, for example, you say you want to systemize your business and you are using your personal line for your business, then it means you have set up yourself for a mess. Or when you are registering your name, your company name, you use a name that's maybe your husband and your wife name, it means you don't want to sell the business tomorrow. So it's a game of mindset. But to make it easy, if you are starting business on your own, all the area of your business, start documenting it in a way that anybody can come in and they can understand it. And the person just need to understand, we call it, anybody with average intelligence, you're able to understand what you do and follow it. And basically for any business, we have 3 phases or 3 branches. That is lead generation, to get customer and to convert customer. So you need to have a system for generating customer, however someone document it. Then a system for also converting those customers, document it. Then a system for delivering what you have promised to the customer when you are marketing them. Then this can now be further broken down into a lot of pieces depending on the business you are doing. So that is how I've been able to grow from being a technician to somebody that can run a business that can run with or without me. But it's a mindset-oriented thing, but it is possible. But you have to be very intentional about it. And you yourself that wants to do that, you have to follow the rule. You have to follow the rule. Because if you don't follow the rule, your staff or your colleague or your partner cannot follow that same rule. For example, okay.
Let's take this a bit, right? So the first key thing is identity, right? The first key thing is identity. I like what you said about just the terminologies you use, terms like even the name of your company, right? So I see this a lot. There's too much my send you an invoice, then everything's created twice. First mental, then physical. The mental state to be in a system is way more important than the physical steps. The mental state is I don't want to be a one-man business. So you never use one-man terms like I will.
It's 8:30.
I remember early days of Xavier, right? When I was still even running Xavier for a few years, running Xavier from my parlor, right? And I was the only staff. I would always use the word we are. Right, we are. This was before we ever had a team, right? And I think that mental state is important to be in. But moving away from identity, which is the first thing you want to do, just right? And on customers. It puts you in a place where you think differently. Third mentality is run your business as if it's going to be a franchise, right? I think the biggest franchise brand in the world would be Starbucks, McDonald's, and Nigeria will start to have some interesting franchise. Slots, which is a brand that we were a major part of, right? The phone brands, Chicken Republic, these are brands that need to show that they can run franchises, and of course the oil and gas, downstream oil and gas, which is filling stations, right? You find out that the total stations are owned by different people. What you find out is once you start your business, assuming that you're going to have different branches that you don't own, mean that you have to give them a manual to run it. You start to think of having manuals, right? So I think that's a major part of what you need to do, right? To be able to create that type of system. So now we've broken down how to move from technician to manager to entrepreneur. We say, but the technician is the guy that supplies the output, the manager supplies the order, and then the entrepreneur supplies the vision, right? You have to spend more time supplying the vision than supplying the order. you need to spend more time supplying the order than supplying the outputs. If you're supplying the outputs, try and get a buffer, which would be somebody who is a manager who supplies the order. So this is what I've done practically in Xavier. There's a guy called Toby, right? Toby, are you here? Toby, are you here? Okay, so Toby isn't here, right? So Toby is our head of compliance, and I wanted to put Toby on the spot, right? To ask him what he does. So Toby is my buffer. He's my bulletproof for all the pressure, right? So Toby is the guy that supplies the order, right? Because I realized I was spending a lot of time burning down, and I was having a discussion with somebody yesterday about this COVID madness, right? So of course the argument has been, why are the most people that are dying from COVID almost middle class, rich people, entrepreneurs? Of course, people's argument is that it's not true, that there are actually more poor people dying of COVID, but the people are not even diagnosed of COVID, so they're just dying. That makes sense. But the reality about it is we all know more poor people than rich people. We all know more people than rich people. So I'll ask the question, how many poor people do you know? And I'm using the word poor and rich, not the perfect word to use. I should actually be using entrepreneurs or well-to-do businessmen, right, who a lot of them have died, right? The sad one was the guy that died 3 years ago. So the guy that owned the largest number of Rolls Royce in Nigeria. I can't remember his name now, right? And a lot of people more on ICU. So I said, okay, if you think that more poor people are dying than rich people, can you mention any poor people around you that have died? And then mention any rich people around you that have died. You see that the data actually shows that more middle class and rich people die. So that's not the conversation now. It's not like COVID is killing more rich people than poor people. Is that the main trigger for dying from COVID comes from you having an underlying illness. So the main trigger for death is not COVID. The main trigger for death is everybody has COVID. Most of us have probably even had COVID and have recovered without knowing, right? But people who are having severe problems like getting this ICU, that they have underlying issues, diabetes, hypertension, and you can find that these things are lifestyle illnesses. So does it mean that people who work so hard have bad lifestyles? Because that's what it means. Because people who work so hard or who work smart or who become successful at what they do seem to have underlying health illnesses. I think there are more rich middle class people who have hypertension, right, than poor people, which is strange. If you draw the graph, because you assume that they have more problems, you have more issues. So what I've come to realize is that more rich people or more successful entrepreneurs, and there are triggers to this, more business entrepreneurs, that there are a lot of data to back this up. First of all, more entrepreneurs die from suicide than their junior officers or their staff. If you check people that die of suicide, they're usually people who are a bit well-to-do, right? So what am I driving at in this commission is we burn down too much because of what we're going to. We burn down too much for we who are on the path to greatness. A lot of people don't really care about greatness. They just want to survive. There are different levels and hierarchy of needs, right? Some people just want to survive. Have sex, have food, have sex, reproduce, have food for table, have clothes for their body, and have house over their roof over their head, and that's all. That's not where most of us are. Most of us are not interested in food, feeding, in clothing, in sex, and all that type of stuff. I mean, we're interested in them, but not in the same degree as the average guy who lives in a one-room apartment or a face-my-face. So what you find out is that because we don't supply enough vision, right? Because we spend a lot of time supplying enough vision, right? We do it backwards, right? What happens is that we sort of get into a quagmire, right? And how can we solve that quagmire? The first thing we want to do, from understanding that we have to move from bottom to up, is one, to break down the set of systems we need to create. So even what we call systemization is actually a set of systems. So every business has different systems they must set up. So I'm going to go again top, bottom. So we're assuming that we want to be at a particular place, which is the visionaire, supplying the visionary entrepreneur. So to be a visionary, you need to have certain systems. So the first system you want to have, there are 6 systems. Please pay attention to this. There are 6 systems. The first system you want to have, right? And I'm going to these are my words, and this is how I understand creating systems. And practically I'm going to do that for myself and for other clients, especially other clients, because I have clients who've been 30 years in business. I'm just less than 10 years, right? And I think we've done some pretty good one. I'll tell you some of the tricks we use. The first thing I would like to do, right, is to call it the primary goal system, right? The primary aim system. What's the primary aim system? Before you start to, don't forget you're doing all of this so that you can, 1, build a business that can be sold. 2, build a business that can be franchisable. Franchise means that you have 50 different branches and you own only one. So people come to you and pay for the right to open another branch. And I'll be practical with this. Let me say Xavier runs a consulting firm. And then in the next 5 years, somebody in Bulgaria says, oh, I like what you've done with startups in Nigeria. I'm in Bulgaria. I want to set up a business in Bulgaria that would also help businesses like Xavier setting up business, helping businesses. Can you please give me your blueprint and your brand name? And I'll pay you this amount of money every month to use my brand. That's what a franchise is, end of story. So a McDonald's, which what we like to call Mickey D's, right? A Mickey D's, a Starbucks, a Total filling station probably has over, I don't need more than that, right? One thing they got right first is define where you're going to, which is the primary aim system. So what is the primary aim system, right? What is primary aim system? Primary aim system says define all of your big picture, things you can't even achieve now. I like to put it in the 10x. I like to put it. I like to put it as a 10x. What Grant Cardone calls 10x, right? So a lot of things in primary aim system is not now, right? It's futuristic, right? So what does this mean, right? It means that so this is where you define your vision, your mission, your core values, what you do, how you do it, and why you do it. I don't know if this sort of makes sense. Primary aim system says define your vision, right, and make it big and audacious. Matter of fact, maybe Mohammed, let me put you on the spot again, right? Last year, if you permit me to give out this detail, you
can go ahead.
At least I'm trying to make $2 million. You're trying to do 10x, right? We're trying to do 10x. So 10x is times 10 of what you did. Do you want to tell us about your primary aim system in terms of your aim, what you do, your core values? And this is for anybody who's listening now, be writing this down. So after now, Martha, while you're having discussion, you write down what do I want to be in terms of my vision. Big, gigantic vision. The bigger the vision, the better. Nobody has gone to jail, last time I checked, for having a big vision. So it's not okay to say, I want to and just define it for us. And maybe I'll open up the mic for other people. I'm getting text messages from people saying if other people can join. Now, if you're listening to this and it's worth your time, please, you have the permission to share the Zoom link. If you can hear me, if you're listening to this and you want other people to join, most likely your boss, your partner, or your spouse, please feel free to share the link or chat the person up so you can join, because we're getting somewhere really strategic and that might change your business as we go. So Mohammed, do you want to tell us about your primary aim vision? Remember, there are 6 different primary aim systems. There are 6 systems to set up, right? So we're starting from the highest to the detail, right? I don't know if it's okay to just list them all out. Right. The first one is primary aim system. Second one is strategic objective system. The third one is organizational system. The fourth one is management system. The fifth one is people system. And the sixth one is marketing system, which is what Emmanuel tried to break down when you're saying that you have to have lead generation, conversion system, and delivery system. But Mohammed, do you want to run us through what your gigantic, audacious goal is?
Okay, interesting. Well, a little background of who I am. So when I'm relating some of this information, it can connect. Well, okay, last year I owned a business that did over $1 million in transaction. And the goal this year is to do $20 million US. But that is just in terms of transaction. Well, for this project, our aim on the project is to enable anyone cost effectively own a recharge and bill payment portal and get to market faster. So that was like the primary objective we have for that. But before we started this project, our primary objective is to complement aspiring and existing entrepreneurs' efforts by providing result-oriented solution. Because I started my journey as a computer engineer. Then I felt that I can't repair more than 1 laptop at once or more than 10 at once. So I evolved into website designing. But because I like coaching and consulting, I was also adding that as extra of what I do. I'm currently able to manage about more than 500 websites for different organizations. But I now focus more on running software projects. But because we are not just looking at running a software project, we are looking at running a project that people can be able to get value from. It is like a franchise. So that's why we started our daily money system. So bottom line is that in this daily money system, we'll be able to set up all these different aspects of primary aim, strategic objective of the project, then the marketing aspect of it, just like a franchise system. So it actually depends on the nature of the business that determines what type of system to put in place. But of course, for the software project we have, one of our primary aim is to sell out to Shopify. So in the beginning, we already know where we are going to. But even at that, we're able to like tweak it to suit our own situation. Because, for example, primary aim of Jumia is to sell out to Amazon. And in fact, Jumia have not broken even. The same way Amazon did not make any profit for 8 years. So we have that plan in mind. But our own model is, okay, we are setting this up as a franchise. Anybody that have a version of our software has the infrastructure, and they also have access to the marketing system. So we have that primary aim. So, but of course, based on the book Mr. Isu has shared, Meet visited, if we all go through the ebook, we'll be able to get insight on how to craft this different system. And one of those things that Mr. Isu also does is to give, that is Xavier, is to give support on setting up different systems. So it can actually be customized to suit our different situation. So I will pause for now so that Mr. Izu can come in accordingly.
Okay. So the funny thing about this conversation is that every great business has to have a primary aim, a big picture aim. Like he said, of course, you have to be in-house to know that Jumia ultimate plan is to sell to maybe an Amazon. And you can see it from the strategy that they're even employing. I'll give you a practical example. Why did Jumia have to open, right? And when I say open is open up in the stock market in New York and not in Nigeria. The IPO was done in the US and not in Nigeria. So you can tell that they're already positioning themselves to be that brand that, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Yes.
To be that brand, okay, that's fine. To be that brand that will sell out to Amazon. Now, there's nothing wrong with in 5-10 years' time, Amazon decides not to buy them or Amazon is not interested. The truth about it is they will still find another competitor that wants to buy. And that's the good thing about setting gigantic goals. When you miss, you still land on something better than somebody that didn't set up a goal, right? So the primary aim system is basically documenting all the big picture that you want. And that big picture keep you on the toe. So for us, we want to make $1 billion. Of course, we're not even making we're not making 1% of that now in Xavier. But every day I wake up and I have a question on my team. I tell them, we have to make $1 billion. Now, making $1 billion as a conversation, every time you say it, the human mind is funny. The human mind doesn't really notice or recognize who's real and who's not. Or what you need to do is, when you keep telling the same story to yourself over and over again, you believe it. This is why religion is important. After all, we all woke up one morning and believe certain stories that would not make sense to anybody else who has not listened or believed it or heard it as much time as us, right? So I think all religions have this primary aim system. So every morning, a Christian wakes up saying, I have to live the kind of life so that one day when I die, right, I would go from my grave up to the sky, right? Or there's going to be a loud trumpet that's going to sound, and that trumpet will be so loud, and some of us that are righteous start to levitate up. Other religions have virgins or whatever it is, right? But the ultimate aim is what keeps everybody on their toe. So that's why it's important to have an ultimate. The ultimate goal of a Christian is to go to heaven, to make heaven. End of story, right? What is the ultimate aim of your business? That's really what the commission is. Now, if you want to break that down into bullet points, right? For example, mine would be to become an international brand, right? That does at least $1 billion annually. As I start to say it often, I start to believe it, even though initially it was initial and gigantic and audacious and impossible. Now I start to feel like, oh, it's within reach. Especially when you start to make maybe $1 million, $10 million, you start to see how close it is, right? We also said to serve at least 100,000 businesses, right? And 10 million people, right? So I'm thinking, oh, now we have to set up Dubai Xavier, we have to set up London Xavier, Abuja, we have to set up Abuja HBC, we set up Lagos HBC, we set up Port Harcourt HBC, we're going to other cities. You see how it starts to draw closer. Then you need to define your core values. These are all under primary aim system. So what does the core value do for you? The core value stops certain people from entering your business or your system. So here's our own core value at Xavier. Our core value at Xavier is excellence, energy, and growth. Now, because excellence is our core value, there are certain people we cannot hire. Forget it. Now, 90% of my workforce, 90, huge number, 90% of my workforce made the first class in university. So why, when people say, oh, and I'm not telling you to hire only first class. The reason I'm hiring first class is because of my own core value. My core value is excellence. I don't want mediocres in my system. So I've done the math and I realized that the only way to track a young person that knows what he came to life to do is check what he graduated in school. Somebody that graduated first class obviously understands more about excellence. He might not understand about innovation or even making money, but at least when it comes to sticking to a script and delivering, because I remember one time we had spoken about excellence as a session where we talked about excellence being the highest degree of anything and sticking to a script. I said excellence is a measure of what you wanted to achieve and what you achieved. For a guy that entered school and said, I'm going to make a 4.5 CGPA, and at the end of 4 years, he makes a 4.5 CGPA, clearly shows that he understands what vision boarding and chasing that vision and achieving it is. So that's my own core values. You define your core values. So your primary aim is your vision, your mission, your core values, right? Then why you do what you do is important. So why do you do what you want to do? Why do you do what you do? Right? I have the conversation all the time with my colleagues. Sometimes I move from just having a conversation with them to breaking it into something bigger. And I tell them, look, I want you guys to be your best, not because of Xavier. I want you to be your best because you will raise better kids. Because one thing I realize is when you run a mediocre system or you're part of a mediocre system, you will end up marrying a mediocre wife and you give birth to mediocre kids. And I like to use the Nigerian police force as an example. I don't find it disrespectful that there's a data that somebody released about that growing up in the barracks. And it showed that the barracks has churned out probably more criminals than any other ecosystem. Matter of fact, the history is crazy from Anini to Shinorambo to people who have literally terrorized this country. What we realized was that, okay, is it that because they're police children, that's why they're turning out bad? Absolutely not. It's because that the police system doesn't work and it's a mediocre system. So because it's a mediocre system, I mean, don't forget, police is one of those institutes where you don't have to make 2-1 or anything to get into. Matter of fact, you don't even have to be a graduate. Matter of fact, 80% of people you see in police academy are people who would never have gotten a job or would not have been the first choice in other places. I mean, nobody graduates from school with a 2-1 or a very good grade, and you ask him, what do you want to join? And he says police. Rarely do you find that. So because it's a system that doesn't demand excellence to join, what you have is a lot of mediocre people who sit in it, and then they create the office itself, which is what you call the police station, is almost mediocre. If you've ever been to, you see, for Nigerian police is the kind of place where you can go to report a case, right? Stay across the counter, and before you know it, you're in cell. You that went to report case. It's a mediocre system, depending on who, if the person you went to report case has more connection and has more money than you. Right? So I like to explain to them why we do what we do. I say, look, I'm not trying to build a great business because I just want us to make money. I want everybody to be comfortable. I noticed that because you're excellent at what you do, certain people will get off your life, including the kind of relationship you have. Now, because you're an excellent person, the kind of girl you find attractive, you can't be very excellent and you find a mediocre girl attractive. It's almost impossible. So because you find an excellent girl who probably comes from an excellent home, and this has nothing to do with wealth, just excellence, just someone that understands to follow through on things. You give that to kids who you will be intentional to also follow through for them to come out to where they want to be. So it's important that whatever you do has to have not just what, but why. So what is your big why for doing what you do? So that's sort of like the primary aim system. So what's the second system? Second system is called strategic objective system. So you must define the strategic objective of your company. And these are very top level, because if you don't have this thing sorted, you cannot start thinking of trying to run a business that runs without you. Because if you don't have a vision, when you say you don't want to be in your business, I want to be on your business, you don't want to be in your office. Okay, so what do you do with that time when you're not in your office? Now, you're not in your office, and what you do with that time, because you have defined your strategic objective and your vision, is to step out of that office, to chase that vision. Because you have a vision, that's the vision that's chasing you out of your office. Because, look, let me give you an example. I say to make $1 billion, right? To have 100,000 businesses restructured. 100,000 businesses don't exist in my company right now. So what am I doing in my company? I need to step out of my company to chase those 100,000 businesses, right? So I think that's pretty much a major part of this conversation, right? But before I move forward, maybe I'll let anyone just quickly unmute their mic and ask a question about the primary aim system. We're going to move a bit faster because of time. Does anybody have a question they want to ask about setting up a primary aim system, which is really about documenting and immersing yourself and another company in the big picture of your dream, right? To a point where they're infectious, where they're affected by it. Does anybody want to ask a question around the primary aim system? Say how to craft a vision, mission, core values, why we do it, and what we do, and why it matters. Okay, just in case you don't want to mute your mic, you could just go to the chat section and drop off your question on that. I think it's a bit better for us if there are no questions so that we can move a bit faster. So what's the strategy objective system? So strategy objective system is basically saying, for me, I like to break down strategy objective as my keys to success. Every business has to have their keys to success. What are that key, like your master key that you use to unlock all the other doors? You have to define them. So I'll tell you what my key success is. And I've broken down my own key success into 4 different variables. Now, these 4 variables is something I like to preach all the time, the balance scorecard. So my key success is built on structure, finance, innovation, and stakeholder engagement. In other words, I will be successful in Xavier if I manage my structure well, manage my finance well, manage my innovation well, and manage my stakeholders well. So what do I mean by managing my structure well? This is what I've done to manage my structure well. First of all, I hired the best staff. Hopefully you can steal some of these my ideas. Because I had the best staff seems to be organized. People that made first class are usually not the most creative people. I don't need you to be creative in Xavier. Don't worry. Xavier is not that type of company where we need to channel 1 million ideas every time. We just need people that can move a plan to an action and do it seamlessly to the result where the client wants it is, and which is a lot of structure. So I hire and manage the best staff under structure. Another thing I've learned to do is hire a compliance guy who sits as a buffer, like I said, who is my bulletproof to all the tension that happens, right? Now, that pressure can be a lot sometimes that they don't even last, which is not a problem for me. I have behind the scene a recruitment system that will replace you immediately you're burnt out, right? So hire and manage best staff, right? Hire a compliance manager, and then have a dedicated team. These are my keys to success. If you take away me having first-class students, having a compliance person, and having a dedicated team, I'll probably lose 20% of my value. Now, what is your own key to success? Matter of fact, in terms of my dedicated team, one thing I've done to make sure my team is dedicated is to keep a residency for them. So our office has a section where people can leave and go home on weekends. Because what I realized is that when people stay in your house from morning till night, they seem to have a lot more commitment. Big Brother has showed us this, right? When you put people in a room, Big Brother Nigeria, when people in a room, they have nothing else to do than to chase a vision. I mean, all the people that see Big Brother, if you want to destroy Big Brother Nigeria, let them come in the morning and leave in the night. And then the next morning, we'll listen to them again when they come back. They would ruin the concept of Big Brother. So for you, what is your own key to success, right? Another key to success for me is under finance. Remember the structure, 1, 2, 3, 4. Structure is 1. Another structure, 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D. 1A is hire and manage the best staff. 1A is hire and manage the best staff. 1B is have a compliance manager as a buffer. 1C is have a dedicated team. And my 2A is, also 2 is finance. Finance is clients on retainership, right? Have a solid strategic partnership. Client for your consulting business. How much on social media? I have never done Instagram Live before. I have never done Instagram Live or Facebook. Rarely do we do sponsored ads. Rarely do we share flyers. And what I do know is I get a lot of my job through partnerships, right? So I have a lot of communities that the owners of those communities just keep referring people and I get a commission. right? Especially if they know that I will deliver excellence to protect the interests of their community, right? So I think everybody has to have that level of system, right? Of course, the only way this can make sense to you is not just you knowing it, is working with a consultant that walks you through each of those systems. So you have to create a system for your finance, a system for your structure, a system for your innovation, right? For my own innovation, one thing I've done is I like to hire people below 25. So you see why these are ground rules. I hire people below 25, and there's a reason why I hire people 25, because I realize as people grow older, they become less innovative, right? They become way less innovative, right? So my commission to you is, what is your own system for driving innovation? This is my own system for that innovation. It doesn't mean that it's an absolute system. It's just a system that works for me. I've tried to hire 35-year-olds. It just doesn't work. They have too much distractions. Oh, today their child is sick, their wife is having a challenge with them, their child to pay their rent. There's just too many things competing with their mind share, which paste. It's okay to copy and paste from your competitors. Look, this thing called business is not like an exam where you're not allowed to copy. You can copy and do it better. After all, almost all the big brands, everything they do is a copied version. Alibaba today is a copied version of Amazon. What Alibaba does is basically take Amazon and introduce to Asia community and calls it Alibaba, right? Even the iPhone that launched the touch screen, right, stole the concept of the touch screen from Casio, right? The Casio wristwatch, right? The Gokada and the Opay of our time is a copycat of Uber. They just took the Uber concept and put it on bikes. So it's important that everybody knows how to drive their own innovation. So my innovation is driven by mentorship, by following my competitors, by having team above 25. So you have to have sort of like that network, right? So maybe let me ask you, Mohammed, right? What is your own keys to success? Because your objective system is basically having a system that defines your keys to success. So, Mohammed, can I ask you, what are your own keys to success? One thing you can say, this is my secret ingredient. It is my own master key. And we have the question because it's a small, close circle, right? Normally, a lot of people don't know that these are my keys to success, because that's like your own master card, right? Not your own master card, your own master key, right? So what is your own key to success?
Okay, fantastic. Thanks for all the explanation. I've got a lot of value from it. Well, my model is still following the EMIT model.
It's 9 o'clock.
Getting people that have average intelligence. Then I have a system in place to train them on the different aspects of the business. The challenge with bringing people that are skillful is that they don't have the culture. And you can't train people on culture, on character, but you can train them on skill. But because our business is built with the franchise prototype in mind, anybody that comes in can something that other companies or any new person will get to know about maybe in 3 months. In our own business, you can learn it in 3 days, you can learn it in 3 hours, because there is a checklist, there is a template for everything we do. Then for human resources, we have a way of bringing people in. I don't ask people for CV. Even in the vacancy brief, there is an interview in it, and it's about 5 pages with 2-page interview. And when you come in, you will do like a 30 to 60 days working interview for you that involves training, induction, and working interview. So with that, we have that way of filtering people that come into the system. And because we have documented way of doing different things we do, we can easily train them. So we have a fantastic onboarding process. So that is one of those things we do, especially for things that are not a core technical skill, like coding, like graphics, but other things that are not core technical things, we have a system for bringing people in. And the most important aspect of business are not even things like coding or technical aspects. So those are the process we use. So we have a system that defines what we do, which is our strategic objective, or call it brief overview. Then we also have what we call 45 decision-making principles that talks about how we make decisions. That can be as simple as, if a refund is more than 10,000, don't contact your supervisor, issue the refund. There's going to be writing mail for whoever to approve, because there is a system we follow. Then the third one is that we have collection of manuals for everything we do. But it's not possible for you to actually have manual for everything you do, because things change. Before COVID, a lot of things happen. After COVID, a lot of things happen. So we have this document we call System for Creating System and Modifying Procedure. So even if there's any new change, we know how to update our procedure. So those are some of the things we do to enhance us in running a business that can run with or without us. That also enable us to run a business that is predictable, sustainable, scalable, and profitable.
Okay, so I like those keywords, right? Can you say them again? Profitable, scalable.
Yes, because we have a documented way of doing things, and we gather data, so we can predict how many clients is going to come in the next 1 month. How much are you going to make from the clients? What is the estimated cost of production? Then how much profit you are going to make? So the idea is running a system that is, one, consistent, that is scalable, that you can easily make more money without incurring more costs. Of course, once you can do that, automatically it will be profitable. And because you have a documented way of doing things, because everything you do has a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 processes, so you can also predict it. So basically with that, you don't need to bother yourself and employ people with a lot of experience. Exactly that experience does not matter. Most of the knowledge we have, what brought most business to where they are will not take them to where you are going to, because a lot of knowledge now diminishes. A lot of knowledge are now irrelevant. But you have a system in place for doing things, of course, which means you are rigid. But of course, you now have a system to update the system that it can go in line with what the system that your business can do. So you don't end up becoming like a Nokia that did not innovate on time, or like Volkswagen that produced a perfect product but has because Volkswagen did something fantastic at what they sell, you cannot make money.
Okay, sorry to my colleagues who are here. Please mute the noise in the background. Okay, can you guys hear me? Mama, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so this a bit. I think we need to break this a bit. Okay, so I think we need to break this a bit. Does anybody have any question? Because I feel like we're moving a bit faster. We might be losing people. Does anybody have a contribution, right, to the 2 systems we have created? We've spoken about. Remember, there are 6 systems to create a gigantic system that works. First, define your vision, your mission, your core value, and immerse everybody in it, right? Let people know where you're going to, what you do at the company, right? The core values of the company, so you don't let anyone in the door that doesn't have those core values, right? So you see people that say, oh, our core value is character, and then there are people who don't have character in that company, right? So how did that person enter the company, right? One thing I like to use an example a lot, Kuro Lazon will do this a lot because he used to work in the branch GT Bank. GT Bank's core value, one of their core value is innovation. And that reflects in orange and whatever color they use and all things. But you find that average GT Bank guy, right? They are very innovative. They usually have the stylish, the most creative, the most savvy, the most swagalicious stuff, right? So you see, that's what core value does. But that's one, right? Primary aim objective. Then move to strategic objective, right? Which is what we call the key success system, right? So define what the keys to your success is, right? Then the third one, which we're moving up to now, right, is plain simple. It's called organizational system, right? So we have primary aim system, then we have strategic objective system, then we have organizational strategy system, right? Now, let me state that 1 and 2, right? There are 6 systems. Primary aim and strategic objective is just a bunch of written stuff. But strategic organizational system is where the real system starts. structure, right? So what's structure? Structure is basically creating an organogram and chain of communication and command, right? So I'll be practical with this, right? You run a business, right? Do you have an organogram? What is the organogram? So you sit as a CEO, who reports to you? Then who does the person that reports to you have under that reports to him or her, right? So it's important to be able to define all of that. At the organizational strategy system, at that point, do you draw your organogram? Because when you create an organogram, clearly organogram shows you your department. Then for each of those departments, you can now go ahead to create job descriptions and positions for those organograms. So here's what I'm saying. There's an organogram. The organogram says, oh, based on organogram, an MD, and then there's a GM, and under the GM, we have HODs reporting to the GM. So because you have HODs, HOD means head of department, so that means that department. So you have HOD for finance, which might be your chief accountant. You have HOD for operations, your operation manager. You have HOD. So you define that whole organogram, right? After you define the organogram, then because when you define organogram, so an organogram gives birth to departments. Department gives birth to positions. Positions give birth to job descriptions. Job descriptions give birth to actions. Actions give birth to standard operating procedures. Too technical, but if you watch this video again, which is something I recommend, and by the way, this session is being recorded, right? It's supposed to be like a manual, so I don't expect everybody to get this at one instance, but if you watch it again, if this is really important for you to build a business that can run without you, then you might have to immerse yourself in the system. Let me repeat what I said. So you have organizational strategy system, right? Basically having an organogram that works. An organogram should be broken into departments. No matter what you do, you must have departments, right? You must have departments, right? Then once you have departments, you must have heads of departments. And those heads of departments must clearly have people that report to them. And people that report to them with different positions, right? So let me say accounting department has an auditor and an accountant, right? Or an operations manager has, under operation manager, you have maybe quality assurance, right, and production. So quality assurance and production now reports to operations manager, right? So you see how it works. So you can say strategy as a head of strategy. Under the strategy, you have business development and marketing on that. So there's marketing on that business development. But there's development on that strategy. You see how, right? So that's really a major part of your organizational strategy system, right? So organizational strategy system defines organogram, chain of command, right? You draft your functional job descriptions and KPIs and for each team members, right? It's important to be able to have that. So my question to you is, do you have an organogram? The people in your organogram, do they know your positions? Do they have job descriptions, right? Do they have KPIs for those job descriptions? Because when you have KPIs, then you can now start to do management by objective. You can't do management by objective if you don't have KPIs. So what I'm saying is basically, okay, let me give you a practical example. So let me say I have in exhibit, we have community manager, right? Now, what's a community manager? Community manager is everybody that is the guy that manages everybody in our community. Our WhatsApp groups, our social media, our clients, PR for our clients and all that. So, of course, part of that community manager's role is to also manage our Zoom meetings. So I don't have time to be understanding how Zoom meeting work and blah, 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 blah. So because the community manager, we define KPIs. So KPIs for us will be number of attendance for a Zoom meeting. So you know that if we do a Zoom meeting and there are less than 50 people in that Zoom meeting, right? Then there's a challenge. You would have to eventually get a credit. My friend said it now, I had to look at how many people are in this Zoom meeting. So that's 9. So he's passed that test. Another thing is ensure that there's somebody in the Zoom meeting who is taking minutes of the meeting. Now, if you look to the chat section, you will find that there's somebody duplicating what I'm saying, writing it down, right? Another thing is ensure that the data is collected for everybody in Zoom meeting, which is why he created a registration, which is a funnel to this. So you see how I'm doing MBO. I just define the KPIs, and then I'm ready to get the compliance guy, right, to query him and penalize him if he doesn't meet those objectives. So you see why it's called MBO, management by objectives. So do you have that type of structure in your organization?
That we can use, or where are we going to use?
So we have options. We can use inside.
Sorry, can someone please
What's
mute?
the setup of inside mic?
Let's check that.
What the person is, right?
And if he's outside, then they need to rearrange the chair.
Sorry, can somebody please mute the Busola, can you please mute the person who's okay, thanks, Busola. Okay, so we get it, right? So does anybody have any question on this? Let me probably go to the chat section and see whether anybody's dropped questions that we can relate and answer. So, oh, Mr. Kuro, well done. I see you're also restating what I said. Mr. Kuro, I don't know if you have if you want to throw more light or have questions on anything we have discussed so far.
Well, first is well done. I always join in because there's always value. By the way, my first encounter with Izu was this. I got a mail from a source I had no idea of when I was in GT Bank. Inviting me for a full day training in
which is our marketing system.
Exactly. And this was how long ago? I was in stream 2, which was about 9 years ago or so.
Yeah, it was 9 years ago, yes.
It was a very long time, about 9 years ago, yeah. And I saw it and it caught my eye. So I drove to Lagos and sat the entire day. And I enjoyed it enough to have paid for my wife to join later, my brother to join later. And it was really cool. And I think those things have begun to work. I think the only thing I'll just say 2 quick things. One, the thing you mentioned about core values. You know, when you mentioned GT Bank, my blood just boils. So I mean, I'm not boils like badly, but I just become excited. So I might as well. Yes, the core values are injected in you. They hire you, at least way back in GT Bank. You got hired with some level of a measure, whether you could fit in as regards culture, as regards teamwork, those simple things. And I remember the vision of GT Bank more than I remember any other company's vision to today. But that innovation part was very strong. It wasn't just in the core values. There was a system that made it work. So there are times when we needed to break into a market and think tanks would be created. Brainstorming sessions would happen. They would reward people with the best innovations. I produced 2 products, 2 kinds of accounts of GT Bank were created by me and dropped there because the system allowed it. And there was a system, when you came up with some kind of idea, they would take it into a pool, a team would look at it, they would call people from different parts of the country to critique it. So I had an idea of an account for Royal Fathers, for KBCs. It was sensible in the Southwest, and it made sense the way we presented it, or the way I presented it. But they said, Kuro, it will sell in the Southwest. It won't sell in the North or in the East because they don't have that many traditional rulers. So can we tweak the product and make it a senior citizens account? And that's where it came from. Because the system allowed innovation, pushed you to innovate. If you are a teller, you are the owner of your desk. You can't tell me the note counting machine went bad, and that's why you couldn't pay a customer. You must find a way around it and then come and complain later or complain before. So I agree with systems and making that work all the time. And I think this just breaks it down. It can't get any better with regards managing a business. And I like the idea of somebody being a technician and calling themselves a CEO. I saw it on Instagram, ironically, yesterday, saying somebody's a hairdresser, you own your shop, you're the only person there, you're a CEO. Chief of what? I'm not saying because you so call yourself CEO, I would then look down on you. But if you understood it better. So for instance, I started out from day one as head of faculty. I haven't changed it till now. I don't think there's so much to execute as a chief yet. And I still keep it that way. But I think the session makes sense. People need to learn a lot more. And Izu will talk immediately after this about that, our outstanding. Thanks a lot, everybody.
All right, no problem. So fantastic stuff, right? So you see, here's where people are going to have a challenge with executing what I'm saying, because it's important to move from well said to well done. This is well said. All of this is well said. But to move from well done, the problem I've seen people have is not being able to categorize their systems. Right, so I think there has to be a word that covers systems, because a set of processes are called systems. So what are a set of systems called? I'm sure there's a name for it. Let me just call it the compound system. Right, it's a compound system, and they have different systems under it: primary aim system, strategic objective system, and then organizational structure system. Right, so organizational structure system is create organogram, break your organogram into positions, put people as head of each of the positions. Right, so accounting. Departments. So create organogram, create departments under each under to head each part of the organogram, and then have the position, head of position for that organogram, right? So organogram positions, right? Organogram department, then positions, JDs and SOPs. If you don't understand this, you're going to have a huge challenge breaking this down. On purpose, I haven't sent the slides because I think if you have a up to 60-70% understanding of this, when you get the slides, make a lot more sense. Now, this is where it starts to get more interesting. So after you create the organizational structure, which is what I would call the organizational system, right? You now have the management strategy system. So what is the management strategy system? The management strategy system basically says, for all of the JDs you've created, right? For organogram you've created, the JDs you've created in the organizational system, how do you manage those JDs? And that now brings us to, because the execution of JDs are in actions. So for each action you have, do you have an SOP for it? So we have an action called Zoom meetings. Is that an SOP for a Zoom meeting? We have an action called WhatsApp engagement. Is that an SOP for WhatsApp engagement? We have an SOP for social media. Is that an SOP for social media? We have an SOP for client service management. Is that an SOP for client service management? We have an action called reporting, right? Do we have an SOP for reporting clients? Matter of fact, if you go back to organizational systems, right, what you find out is that you have to set ground rules, right? And that's what Mohammed was saying, that he has 48 ground rules that govern his company. For us, what we like to do for our own clients is that we like to back those ground rules and call it the way of life. So Xavier has what you call the Xavier way of life. When you join as a first-class graduate who hasn't worked before, which is very similar to what Mohammed is saying. Mohammed says he doesn't need people with high level of intelligence. Well, me, I need people with high level of intelligence, but I don't need people with high level of experience. I don't need experience. We don't need them, because experience has its disadvantage, right? Experienced people are used to saying this is how it's done, and they can't change, right? Now, one of the things I do when you come in is we have what we call the Exam Starter Kit. That is a starter kit for other companies. When we do the same document for other companies that we consult for, I'll give a perfect example. There's a company we consult for, a real estate company called GTEX, right? So we're working on a document called the GTEX Way of Life. So what is the GTEX Way of Life? It's a document we give to people when they join GTEX, right? Maybe they pass the interview and they're now members and they get their offer letters. We give them now, what's the content of that document? It says, one, as our way of life, we don't say what we're going to do or what is to be done if we don't mention the who and the when. So as a way of life in GTEX, which is also a way of life in Xavier, is you can't say, we're going to build 400 new members this month. No, we don't say we're going to build 400 members. What we say is we're going to build 400 members at the end of this month. And Mr. XYZ, which in our own case is a guy called Lucky. Lucky is going to build 400 followers by the end of this month. So you see, our way of life says, as a ground rule, we don't say anything without putting who and when. So notice we said who, which is Lucky, when, which is end of January. That's a way of life. Now, another second clause is, as our way of life, we send daily reports to our supervisors. So it doesn't matter who you work with. Now, by the concept of chain of command, which is 14 principles of management, and I think everybody should read up on 14 principles of management, which is the ultimate principle of management, is a 100 years treaty developed by Henry Fayol. People that read management and management science, Henry Fayol and McGregor, Terry X and Terry Y are very popular figures in management case studies. They're like what our own Jack Welch and Peter Drucker is to our generation. So one of the things that we try to do is break down those way of life. So our way of life says we don't say who and we don't say anything without putting who and when, right? We don't say that, right? Second thing is we send daily reports. So one thing we realize is if everybody in your team has somebody they report to, everybody will be fine. I think the problem is that everybody in your team reports to you, and that will burn you down. That would burn you down. And that's the problem of no return. To bring you down and to drive you to a point of no return. If everybody has a supervisor, the rule, so your supervisor collects all that reports and summarize and send it to the manager, and then the manager sends you an executive summary. So you see there's a level of detail. So you that your CEO, you get on an executive summary. If there's something you need to find out more, you can now ask for a more detailed reports from either the supervisor's report or the manager's report, right? So that's really how it works, right? It's like how a CEO gets a financial statement called an income statement. If he actually wants to query a particular figure, he can ask for a trial balance, a ledger, or a more detailed document, right? So I think that's pretty important. And this is where the management strategy system comes in. It says you must have ground rules. So I've listed some of my ground rules: send daily reports, put a who and when to a conversation, ensure that there's a weekly meeting. So as a company, every unit must have a weekly meeting. Matter of fact, depending on how big your company is. So for my own company, our team is still not that big. So what we do, we have weekly meetings. For bigger companies that we consult for that have maybe 500 staff, what we say is every unit must have a daily meeting, then the management will have a weekly meeting. So there's weekly meeting and daily meeting. Daily meetings for units, right? So every unit, so that means every day, every unit knows that when they start in the morning, the first thing we have is have a meeting, right? So the operation guys, right, start a meeting. The guys in the back end, the production, have a meeting for the start. Then at the end of the week, all the head of those units come together as management, because head of units make up management, right? The same way head of management. So head of people in a unit have unit heads. People when the unit heads all meet, they become management. When the management all meet, they report to a director. So there's director, there's management, there's unit heads, or what you like to call HODs, right? So it's important to understand that people management strategy system. So it's about ground rules. So my ground rule is weekly meetings, daily reports, who and when, right? Compliance, there's an appraisal system, everybody's appraised every month, right? So that way, people can predict what they expect. So if you sit down in the office, you know that every week we must do meeting. Every day before I go home, I must have a report. Once everybody does this thing, at the top level, everybody's fine. Now let's move on to the fifth system, which is people strategy systems. Now, what's people strategy system? People strategy system refers to a system that takes your employees seriously, or at least show that you do, right? So how do you show that you take employees seriously? You take seriously how they come into the company, one. You take seriously how they learn what to do, two. You take seriously their task. You take seriously their performance. You take seriously what they care about, which is their feelings, right? Their remuneration, their welfare. So people strategy system is you have a system that shows that you care and you take seriously the work of your team. So let me break this down into relatable means, right? So for a people management system, the first thing you want to create is a recruitment system. So that's why I keep saying system is under systems, right? So, and then Mohammed broke this down when he was talking about creating a system under a system, right? Or a system on how to manage a system. So this thing is a nested. For people that read mathematics or understand mathematics, you know when we do sets, we have what we call sets and nested sets. So you can have a paragraph, you can have a bracket inside a bracket, right? So the first thing you want to do to manage your people, which I think is the crux of everything else, right? People process is important, but people, if you can get a system that manages your people, you're fine. So the first system you want to have is a recruitment system. So you have to have a recruitment system. So this is my own recruitment system. I have a funnel that supplies me first-class materials. Now, when I tell people, I have a team that has like to work first class, the first thing they ask is, how do you find first-class guys? They're not all over the place. In a year, a school can produce maybe only 100 first class, 5 in each department. So how do you find these guys? Well, I have a recruitment system that finds me only first class people, right? For you, you have to have a recruitment process that finds you certain kind of people, right? You have to find a recruitment system. Let me give a first example. I have a guy that's very detailed about this, right? I have a guy that tells me that my accountant, all of my, and it's a big company that has a series of accountants. It says all of my accountants, right, as a rule, all come from the same church. And he doesn't even attend the church. He doesn't even attend the church. And I'm like, okay, what is the relationship between the church and the accountant? He says, let me tell you why. This particular church, their core ideology is about going to heaven. And you'll be shocked at how most of the people in that church live in fear to not do anything wrong so they can't go to heaven. That once those people have those mentality, and if you sit down and if you listen to this discussion long enough, you'll be able to know the church I'm talking about. He says, I realize that once you hire an accountant from that church, they seem to be very God-fearing. And because they're God-fearing, they're not likely to steal your money. Now, they might not be the most competent guys, but he says, for accounting, I don't need the most competent accountants. You know why? Because I've automated all of my accounting systems. I have an ERP, I have Sage, I have QuickBook, and all this type of stuff. I don't need a very competent accountant. I need an accountant that will not steal my money. And since I've found that there's a church that supplies people that don't steal, that's a recruitment system. For me, I spend a lot of time in undergraduate systems, right? So I belong to a lot of WhatsApp groups for tutorial people, right? So for example, I mean, Bella, one of my mentees, has a community called the Photo Business Club. I belong to Photo Business Club. I'm always there to spy on young people who have very high CGPAs. And I start to chat them up in the final year in preparation for them to come and work in my company. That is a recruitment system. Now, second system you want to create under people's strategy system is onboarding system. Now, for me, I've already explained this onboarding system by saying we have a kit called the starter kit, the Hexagon way of life. You have to have a document that you call your way of life. So I'll give a practical example. Maybe I just need to mention people I know here. Let me give an example. Ron Shewer, right? Runs a company called Dutom, right? Ron Shewer is into real estate. So imagine if he hires a new QS and he hands over QS a document called the Dutom way of life. And that Dutom way of life breaks down all the ground rules for Dutom and says the easiest way to get out of the door of Dutom, that's to be fired, right, is to break any of these laws. And then he lists out the laws. Make it short and simple. One line for each of the laws, right? It helps you put things in check. So recruitment system is one, onboarding system is starter kit, the way of life is second, then training system. You have to have a system for training people. So either you say, okay, I don't know whatever that system is, not going to that level of detail. They have to have a query and penalty grid system. So for example, I have an Excel sheet, which I call the penalty grid, right? Once we send you a query in Xavier, once you do something wrong and we send you a query. So let me give a example. We say, for you to have a successful Zoom meeting, you must have 50 people. That's all I need to bother my head with. And that's even all management to bother my head with. If you are in charge of handling Zoom meeting in Xavier, we don't care how you get 50 people to show up. Most important is get 50 of the right people to show up. If you don't get 50 people, we will send you a query, right? That query has a mark, which is already defined in the grid. So if it's three points, what it means is that whatever you get in your appraisal at the end of that month will minus 3 points, right? And then, of course, some of our penalties will come in monetary terms. So 3 points can mean we'll take out 10K from whatever stipend we're supposed to give you, right? Or whatever welfare package we're supposed to give you. So you have to have a training system and a query and penalty grid system, then an appraisal system. Now, let me just quickly break down appraisal and why appraisal is important. You cannot run any business in 21st century that is built to scale if people don't watch their performance. And the way to watch performance is for people to know that they're being followed, they're being monitored, and they're being recorded by data to show whether they're doing well or not, meaning that there's an appraisal system. So what's an appraisal system? For me, I've broken appraisal into simple. A plus B plus C plus D minus E is an ultimate formula we use in Xavier. What's A plus B plus C plus D? A means you appraise yourself. A is your own personal appraisal. B is your supervisor appraising you. C is the management, the entire organization appraising you. So it's 360 degree, you, your supervisor, and everybody else, right? That's A plus B plus C. Then plus D. Plus D means that we write exams in Xavier, right? So if you run a retail store, you have to be able to tell people once in a month, your staff, we're going to write an exam. Now, that exam, whatever you score in that exam is the D. You see why it's A plus B plus C plus D, then minus E. Now, what's minus E? Remember we said there's a penalty grid. So if at the end of the month, you have 6 penalties, and each of them is 2 points, that's 2 times 6, that's 12. So whatever you got, let me say you got 78 your appraisal, it will be 78 minus 12. I don't know if this sort of makes sense to anyone who's listening. Right, then more important, you have to have a reward and staff system, a staff growth system. That's a reward system. So what is your reward system? Right, is it commission? Is it profit share? Is it so somebody that is the best performing? You have to have so people can scale. It's extremely important. So let me give you a practical example. In Mickey D's, right, opening new branches. You show well in appraisal. You can earn yourself a franchise right. It means that they can take you out of the system and give you some small amount of seed funding to set up that their employees. They can to one day set up their own McDonald's and they will be supported. So in other words, they are rewarding the best performing staff. So what is your own formula for rewarding good staff? Actually, right. So the last one before I go in, open, let me ask people here, right? If they have any gray area, because I understand I'm talking quite fast because of time, right? Does anybody have any questions or any contributions, or do you want to throw more light in any of the systems that we've broken down? You can unmute your mic and do that quickly.
Hello. Hello, can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, my question is on KPIs, please. How do we create them? How do we generate them from within the system?
Sorry, I didn't get that. Can you just repeat what you said?
My question is on KPIs.
Yeah.
How do we create KPIs?
Okay. Okay, so let me see how practical it can be, right? So just take any system. Okay, so just in case you don't understand what I mean by system, take any department in your company. So what do you do?
I'm into real estate development and construction.
Okay, so what is your name one department in your system? Let's create a KPI for that department.
For example, a projects department.
Okay, so project department, which will be project management. So if you want to create KPI for project management. Okay, so I want to create KPI for project management, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what I'll think. For a project manager, you can say for your project manager, these are his job description. So one, his job description would be to approve an architectural plan, right?
Okay.
Two, approve approve the BOQ, right? Bill of quantity for that project, right?
Yes.
That's that. Okay. So I'm listening at the JD. Remember, the rule is create the JD before you create the KPI. So you notice before I talk about KPI, I'm creating the JD. So JD of a project manager is one, approve plan, architectural plan. Two, approve BOQ, right? Three, right? Approve team members that will be on the team and the salaries will be paid, right?
Yeah.
Now, so let's leave it at three. We're not here to draw a JD. So for each of them, we now create KPI. So for KPI for approval of a plan, right? The KPI could be one. The owner of the building that they are building must approve of the plan.
Okay.
So the KPI is, you cannot tell me that you have drawn a plan and you approve and you're working on a plan without the owner of that building approving the plan. Easy to say. Okay. So let's move to the more probably the harder ones, right? So let me say BOQ to define the BOQ of a 3-bedroom flat, right? So we can say a 3-bedroom semi-detached, right? The BOQ for a semi-detached, right?
Yes.
Is 35 million, right?
Yes.
And the price you're going to sell it, right, is 45 million.
Yes.
Now your KPI for that BOQ could ensure that the BOQ is at least not more than 50% of the price. Now, just how I said, not more than so the KPI for BOQ approval, the BOQ for KPI. Sorry for people who are not in real estate. These terms can be a bit too techy. So BOQ means with your quantity is how they define what the price for each thing they're doing is. So for a 3-bedroom, I know for a 1-bedroom bungalow, so is about 2,000 blocks. I mean, this amount of cement and all that kind of stuff. So now here's what we're saying. So because you see now you're doing MBA, management by objective. So notice what's happening here. The guy knows that he cannot come to you to tell you that the building of this thing is 35 million when they are selling for 35 million. You know why? Because you already had a ground rule and a KPI that says that all BOQs must not be more than 50%. 50% of 45 million is about 20-something million. So he's already on 35 million. So you have to reduce that thing. Even if it means him reducing the quality, but make sure that you reduce quality, the point to the point where the house will fall. Sure. So maybe he wants to use Italian tiles. Can you use Nigerian tiles or Chinese tiles? Right?
That's right.
So that's how you create KPIs. I'll tell you another practical example of KPI. Right? So for my guys, for who are in the HBC group, if you notice, right, on the HBC group every day, there's a guy that runs our WhatsApp group is official. The guy behind it is Lucky. Now, Lucky knows that his KPI is that every day he must do 3 trivias. Trivias is those random questions we ask. He knows he must do 1 Canva or quote of the day. He must do another his KPI. So, and here's the good thing about it. Because he knows his KPI, sometimes I have a problem with Lucky sleeping. I don't care whether he's sleeping or not. What I care about is, has he met his KPI? If he has met his KPI, if you like, let him dream to Wonderland to his sleep. It's none of my business.
True.
That's what KPI is. You define the objectives and make it measurable and quantifiable. So notice there is a number to what I'm saying. I said 3 trivias, 1 quote of the day, 1 article of the day, and then any other thing you want to do with your time is your business. For the guys who are under, let me say, business plan development, they know they must write 2 business plans in 1 week. So if you like, finish your 2 business plans and decide to go home, is your business. So that way everybody has peace of mind. You are going to be fired in 24 hours if you went home and you have not met your KPI.
Yeah.
So I don't know if what I'm saying doesn't make sense. So you see why that is under organizational structure.
But my question now is when you have an organization that is size of like 100 people, for example, with several departments, say about 11 or 12 departments, how easy is it to come up with all these KPIs? To automate the business more, like using these KPIs. Is it even practical?
Okay, yes. Okay, so here's the thing. It is not practical if you think as the head of the company, creating 100 KPIs. It is not practical for 100 people. What is practical is if you have 11 departments, right?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Let each head of department create their own KPIs for that department.
Okay.
So number 1 guy, let me say head of project, create the JDs. You cannot create JDs for people under projects as a CEO. Yeah. That's where you are making you're going to burn out. But you see why he said system for creating systems. So your own role is to show them how to create KPIs, not to create the KPI for them. So the guy who is under project would create KPI for the people under. Matter of fact, if he has 10 people under him, he might not even create KPI for the 10. Those 10 people, you break them into units, maybe 3 units of 3 people each. That's 3 times 3, 9, right? So each unit will create their own KPIs.
Okay.
You see why your most important thing is hiring great managers, not hiring good people.
Yeah, I understand.
Right, it's a very funny conversation to have, right?
But
it's not very technical, but here's the thing, and I'm not trying to sell. You probably won't be able to do this on your own. You probably will need a consultant. And this is why you have PwC, KPMG, Deloitte, and all these guys who sit in this. See, as big as matter of fact, somebody was having this discussion with me about NLNG. Bonnie,
believe me, as
NLNG.
So
right, Sorry, you were saying something, sir?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm saying I think I'll probably give you a call immediately after this meeting.
Absolutely. That's the only practical way to, because at that point, because your role is not to create KPIs as a CEO. Remember, we already broke this thing down. Your role is to chase vision. We said the CEO chases vision. This commission is not vision. This commission is management. Remember, there's vision, there's management, and there's operations. KPI is an operational conversation. So you need a management consultant to manage that operational conversation, which is broken down into JDs and KPI. Your role is just chase vision and hire people that.
Yes, I'm here. Hello? Hello, I'm here.
On all of this.
Come again.
Okay, Mohammed, Mohammed, can you hear me now?
I can hear you clearly.
Okay, so I don't know if you want to throw more light on the commission so far.
Okay. Well, the key thing is that, perhaps for those that just join us, is that if you are setting up your business and you don't sell it as if you want to sell it, you have set up yourself for failure. It can sound deep, but let me explain so that I'll not be crucified. Is that the fact that you plan to sell your business will force you to start thinking about having a replacement for everything you do, including yourself, as in creating a way that somebody else can do anything you do. And anybody you employ, anybody can do it. So the first thing is that mindset. Then secondly is that if you have a business, if for example, your business sell, okay, let me use, you sell a particular item. Let me go practical. What can I use as an idea? Okay, your business is into block production. What you sell is block. That is block for construction. But most people, they stop at that level of selling block, not at the level of selling the company itself as a product. So you need to have that idea of, okay, this business I'm starting, I want to sell it later. You are not selling it later because you're bad or because you are not bringing money, but you are selling it later in a way that anybody that buys the business can be able to generate the same level of income you are generating, and you'll be having results or growth geometrically. That is when you have sell something. But if you have a business and your business is not sellable, then you don't have a business. So that is my own is more of mindset. Then for those of us that want deeper level of fleshing up these things, because I've read more than 7 books on systemization. I've been in this systemization game since like 2015. It's the same year I lost about 5,000 euro, then lost about 10 million naira, paid refund of 20 million. But because of this system mindset, I didn't go back to the village. In fact, one of my mentors worked to the extent that he could not work again. That was the disease. He can't work again. So bouncing back is forced to systemize every aspect of his business. So, but if you want your business to be systemized, what you can do is to, after this section, you can talk to Mr. Izu on how your different aspects of the business can be systemized. But you on your own part, the owner of the company, if you are not ready to be committed to the system creation mindset, then it can't work. So it has to do with you first, then it now translates to your own staff. So that is my own advice on system, because it's painful when you see most people spending like 18 hours per day, 16 hours per day on their business, but they cannot, if they pay today or they are not available today, their staff will suffer because the business cannot run again without them. Their family will suffer just because what their husband have worked for 10, 20 years is not sustainable. So it's painful seeing most entrepreneurs spending a lot of time on a business that cannot run without them. It's a glorified job. And we know of many Nigerians, where are the businesses of people like Abiola today? After their demise, the business has gone, just because they don't have that system in place. So for you to start your journey, of course, the book Mr. Izu has mentioned can help us. But for you to actually get started, you need to have a company that does something like that to help you, give you a customized system for the different things you do. Most of us, not that we can't do these things ourselves, but we need somebody that can hold us accountable. And that is the problem with most entrepreneurs. We run it alone, and nobody to ask you hard questions that will enable you actually do what is important, that will enable you work on your business, not in your business. So those are what I have for us as an advice and comment and encouragement. System is easy. And once your business is systemized, your life will be easy. You can live anywhere you are. You'll not be afraid. I'm in Dubai. I've been in Dubai since early January, and I'm still here for now. It does not affect my business because everything is systemized. But there are some deeper level Mr. Isu will still share with us, like software for managing staff, software for assigning tasks. But it starts with the vision that even when an employee comes in, they know that they are going to be tracked. So that we can be able to weed out those that are not working from those that are working. And we are going to reward those people that work extra time. And those people that are not working very well, weed them out. So all those things are actually very, very key.
Yeah. Thanks for throwing. Okay, thanks for throwing more light. I think the last one is the marketing strategy system, creating a marketing system, which of course this for a lot of people is where they need more attention, because marketing drives demand and demand drives revenue, right? If you do your marketing right, you get more demand. And if you do your demand right, especially when you've broken down your cost of production and you're optimizing your cost of sales for a higher revenue, right? That's when your benefit cost ratio is more than 1, right? In finance, then you're profitable, right? So marketing is a major part, but marketing system, there has to be a marketing system itself, right? So it's important to be able to create a marketing system that sort of works. Of course, the first thing you want to do for a marketing system is, okay, before we go into that, let me just quickly look at the chat. We need to round up in less than 5 minutes, right? Okay, so one thing so somebody was saying, oh, yeah, I was going to talk about LLNG. What about that? So somebody was asking on the group that, oh, you skip talking about LLNG. Yeah, so what I was saying about the LLNG, the framework of which LLNG works today is delivered by PwC, KPMG, and I think Deloitte, right? We call them the big 4 in consulting. These are the biggest consulting firms in the world. They have to sit down, and why I'm talking about LLNG is anybody that knows the Nigerian ecosystem in terms of enterprise ecosystem is that LLNG seems to be one of the most organized companies in Nigeria. LLNG Bonny, matter of fact, Bonny, I like to call Bonny a small republic. It's a small city inside a big city. LLNG works better than River State that holds it, right? But you see, because they have a system that everything works in LLNG, every single thing works in LLNG. Matter of fact, their contact tracing for COVID is something all Nigerians should learn, right? But one of the key things why they could do that, because they have so much blueprint and SOPs and ground rules that govern NLNG. NLNG is as far back as 10 years ago when I used to go there to play golf. If you speed past a particular limit, you can get a ticket. I mean, I don't see anywhere in Nigeria where that even happens. But you see, the role of consultants in your life or in your business, cannot be overemphasized, right? So this conversation we're having is 10 years of work, right? Just trying to break down in 1 hour. You definitely need a consultant. So if you're listening right now, as we're rounding up, we need us to walk you through each of these systems, right? From creating your vision to your core values, to why you do it, to your big gigantic goals, to your keys to objectives, to your organizational structure, to your management systems, your SOPs, right? To your people management, because people management is just how you make your company look good and how you make people that work in it look good, right? So that and for you to be able to break all of that, you definitely will need our help. So I will drop my contact on the group, right, on the chat. So if you're right now listening to us as we round up, right, I just dropped on the chat section our company detail, right? Matter of fact, I put my name on it, right? Talk about systems, right? It's extremely important that at this point, right, you can always send an email, right? Send an email, or you can even call. I'll route you to the person in charge of this. For a lot of people, you'd realize of recent that I have literally been non-existent, only popping once in a while to the WhatsApp groups. And it's just part of the side effect of growth, because I'm trying to create a system where, and the sad thing about it is that, of course, everything has an advantage that after a while, you start to become invisible, which is good. You're invisible to the production, but you're visible to the vision, right? Which is good, right? No matter how good you are, there's always somebody that can do it better, right? So one of the things you want to do is create people that can do it better, but people that shouldn't do anything better than you is crafting your own vision. Vision is something you cannot outsource in businesses. You can outsource production. At this point, I'm outsourcing. The biggest thing I'm trying to do this year is outsource speaking. And I will try that. We're trying that this year, right? Try to have a lot of speaking engagements where I don't have to show up. But if you want ISU particularly to facilitate your training, then you have to pay a bit more. But any of my staff, any of my colleagues, any of my strategic partners, or even associate consultants can always do that. And I think it's a place where everybody sort of has to be. So if you want if you need us to break down this further and walk you through it through maybe a 3-month retainership, I've dropped my details, right? Somebody asked, Izu, how affordable are you? Well, you never can tell until you put a call across, right? So please chat me up, right? Send me an email, send me a text message, send me a WhatsApp message, right? To find out how that is, how affordable we are. But I think we're affordable, and the word affordability always be relative, right? But we are affordable for the big picture of where you're going to. Marketing system, right? I like to break down marketing into 4 things. Identity, which is identification, right? You have to identify your markets. You have a system for identifying your markets, right? Identify your market. You can't sell to everybody. Second thing is create a specialization. You cannot be selling even to your identified markets like everyone else. You have to show something that you're specialized in. So for me, people come and say, oh, Izu, please, we need a motivational speaker. And I'm like, you know what? I like the work. I like the fact that I want to give me money, but I am not a motivational speaker. I am not an executive coach, right? There are a lot of things I am not. I am a business and management consultant. So there are certain things I'm not interested in. Your marriage has problems. I am not the person to call. I am not the person to call. I am not specialized in that. And until you get to a point where you have specialization, you are going to struggle. I mean, remember a few years ago, somebody walked into Chicken Republic to buy fish. And I remember them saying, Oga, it's called Chicken Republic. We don't sell fish. We sell chicken, not fish, right? And whether you like it or not, that guy will walk out angry and say, what do you guys think you are? You don't sell fish. Don't you know Nigerians eat fish? The reality is that there's always going to be somebody that can sell fish. Don't look at another man's eba to go and make your own soup. You know what you're called for. Stick to what you're called for. So that's why to create a sales funnel, have an identity, identify your market, they have a specialization. Then even in that specialization, have a differentiation. So there are 4 layers of creating a marketing system: identity, specialization, then differentiation, and then concentration. Now, identification is identify your market. Specialization is have a specialization. Let people know that this is what you do and this is what you don't do, right? Apple is a phone production company, right? They do high-end phones. They don't do Android. You want Android, go and buy Techno, go and buy Samsung. We don't do Android. And they've stuck to it. Sometimes it shows like you're arrogant, but people respect people who have a direction. The world has a way of making way for anybody that shows that he knows where he's going to. Specialization is key. Then differentiation. What is different between you and the other guy? So you have a restaurant. What is the differentiation between your restaurant and another person? Right, so it's important to be able to have that. And then lastly is concentration. And concentration talks about having a sales funnel. Mohammed, to round up, right, let me let you break down how a sales funnel works and give us an example of how your sales funnel works so that we can just round up with this. Mohammed, I don't know if you're there. Okay, so let me try and break it down. I wanted Mohammed to do it, right? Because he actually runs. Okay, Mohammed, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, fantastic. Well, marketing is my core. One of the funnel I set up in 2020 has done more than 100 million in direct sales and has produced more than 300 million. And the lifetime value of that funnel in the next 1 year can do more than $3 million US. But when it comes to the game of marketing, most of us, what we know is to disruption marketing. We don't know how to do permission marketing. So what is key in marketing funnel is to differentiate ourselves. Maybe if you have an example of business, because funnel is very big, maybe any of the attendees, I can like give them a funnel strategy so that it can be well customized. Maybe any of the others can just tell me what you do, what you are into, that can tell you a better way you can market what you do, because marketing is broad and it's best to be customized.
Okay, so does anybody want to nominate himself, right, to tell us what they do so we can create a quick marketing system for you? Just a very short template, yeah.
Okay, Chinwa here.
Yeah.
Can I speak?
Yes, absolutely, ma.
Okay, I'm into logistics business.
What?
I work with BT Express, and I'm into logistics. We partner with Jumia. So we're into e-commerce, logistics in e-commerce. Can that work?
Yeah, it can work. I mean, badass guy in marketing. So any marketing, any business, just give me. I'll give you strategy. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, since you are into logistics,
Yeah.
and your target audience are people that sell on Jumia.
Yes.
You partner with Jumia.
Yes.
If you are partnering with Jumia, definitely you have different source of clients. So if you want to now grow your business to look for another business that is similar to Jumia, maybe like Conga, and partner with them. So it's not rocket science. Then trying to run Facebook advert to target people that are becoming one by one. When you already have a deal with Jumia and you share percentage together, or you have a relationship together. So that's why to grow your business everything is not about marketing. It's about you positioning yourself very well. You're working with Jumia, unless if you now want to make more money, is to get similar company like Jumia. What do you now do? How did you get to know Jumia? Is it that you contacted them or they pitch you? So you can now use the same model, a better model to that, to pitch other people that are your audience. Like Jumia has other competitor, which is like Conga or GG. How do you attract them? I believe that is basically what you need to do.
Okay.
You have to to target individual.
Mohammed, here's what we need to find out, right? First of all, because the key to creating a sales funnel is, first of all, identify your market, which they have, right? Guys who are online, who buy stuff online and have a problem getting it to them, right? Delivery, right? So they are the delivery solution to people ordering online, because ordering online is one phase, right? Ordering online, then processing it is another phase. Then you getting it to your house is the third phase. So they play in the third phase. Am I right, madam? So the first thing they want to do in terms of increasing their marketing system is to ask whether is there any rule that says that if you're a partner to Jumia, you can't be a partner to other competitors of Jumia. So can you be a partner to Conga and other people? Is there a rule?
No. Yes, there's a rule.
Okay,
you
so
can't be partner to people in similar.
Okay, so that already takes out the fact that they can't partner. So clearly they can't partner with other guys. So that strategy probably won't work. They can't partner with other guys. So, but what they can do is when the people come, they collect their data, right? So if you can automate the data collecting process, that would be great. So as they come in, they have a few seconds or a few minutes before their goods is sorted and given to them. Am I right?
Yes, of course.
Why that goods is being sorted out? You have to have a sort of like a quick way of collecting their data. So whether it's a screen in front of the counter where they can quickly type in, you know, when you go to GIG, right? GIG, you can put your phone number, email, blah, blah, click on submit, and you get that data. You need that data because that data, you're going to use it to add them to Facebook or Instagram, or right? And also, there's an option that says, do you want to join our BTX Express community or not? And it's important to be your own community, whether you're working with Jumia or not, so that if in case Jumia bust or your relationship with them bust, you can still retain your customers that have come to your shop to collect from Jumia, right? So you want to collect data, right? So you have to have a lead generation system, right? Which I would assume should be a form that can either be physical or virtual. So physical could be a form that they'll fill with Biro, or a virtual with a screen that they can just go to type their name, type their this, and click on submit. So when you click on submit, there's someone at the back office who processes that, adds them on social media, you know, so that they can follow you back. So that way, even when they don't order from Jumia, you can still deliver to them, right? The third thing is community, fulfillment and engagement. So what does fulfillment and engagement mean? Can they rate you? So while they are leaving, can I say, oh, can you rate me? But I can do the same time they're filling the form. So on the scale of 1 to 10, how do you like our service? 8 or 9, right? 1 to 10. So for the guys that 1 to 5, what happens? From the guys that's 5 to 10, so 1 to 5 means they're not satisfied with your service. So can you ask them for feedback and complaints? For the guy that says 8 to 10, that means they're very satisfied. Can you click on a button? So there's an algorithm. So it can be a quick form with an algorithm. You see, the good thing about it, everything is a software guy. There are a lot of softwares or apps online that can help you do this. So if somebody says he rates you 4, what he gets next is different from the guy that rates you 8 as a question. The guy that rates you 4 says, what don't you like about our service? For the guy that rated you 8 can be, would you want to refer somebody? Because somebody that rated you 3 will not refer you. He doesn't like you, right? The guy that says he has excellent service. Matter of fact, I do this a lot on my WhatsApp group, right? And even on Facebook, and even as we're chatting now, I'm reading the messages and seeing people who are saying, oh, it's well done, God bless you, amazing content. Those guys, I will take them more serious because if I chat them up, they will take me more serious because they're already my fans. Then when they're my fans, I can now ask them for referral.
Okay.
Right, but you can't ask somebody for referral if you don't have a fulfillment. So you see why it's called a funnel, right? So for your business, it's a bit very straitjacket. It's still brick and mortar. It's still physical. But a lot of people who do virtual business end to end, you have to have an online form that people fill. So I'll give you a practical example of something I'm trying to work on Xavier. You go to our website, you read up about us, you see a video that helps you on something, maybe a 2-minute video on how to restructure your business. And after that restructure your business, it says, would you want to have a 5-minute call with our CEO on how to help you restructure your business? A lot of people will click on yes. It's a free call with a consultant that they know is really sought after, that would cost a lot if they don't have a free chance. So they'll say yes. Now that data, I will process it behind the scene through my staff that has a KPI to process those data. And in that form, as you're filling, I don't know if anybody noticed, when you were filling the form for this session, there's a part that says, would you want to refer somebody for this session?
Yeah, exactly, yes.
So that is a sales funnel. So that's respect. There's somebody behind that has charted that person. You put his number to add him on this thing. So we're growing our potential to get more customers. That's what you call. You see that this part of this question is the last part. This is concentration. Concentrating on your market means creating a sales funnel. So every business must have sort of like that type of funnel. It is not okay for somebody to give you, for you to deliver a service. The guy gives you money, say thank you for coming. We wait your next patronage. Don't do business that way. If you collect somebody's money, you have an obligation to ask the guy if he was satisfied with the service. If he says satisfied with the service, then hit him with another request. Since you're satisfied with our service, would you want to refer somebody else? Maybe we'll give you 10% on the next discount. So that's a bait for two things. Bait one for you to refer somebody, bait for him to even do business next, since you're owing him 10% discount.
Okay, fantastic. So another thing you can do.
Yeah.
If Jumia is anybody to us, to you, try and get the data of those people. They're on Facebook. You can use those people's data to create what we call a custom audience. So with that custom audience, you can get people that look like those exact people you already have. And with that, you can blow up your marketing because they have same profile. But an average person that uses your logistics service will visit the same type of website, has the same online interaction. And with that, you can be able to skyrocket your marketing. Imagine having 1,000 lists of people that are like proprietor, for example, or people that patronize, maybe 1,000 people that patronize businesses like Xavier. And you can now, Facebook can now enable you generate 10,000 of such on autopilot. So with that, you can seamlessly get more people because you already have data. So those are cool ways you can use that will still make sense, because currently you're not spending much on marketing, but rather you're not spending any money on marketing, but part of your profit is going to Jumia because they are referring customers to you. So in your own business model, by the time you even try to market yourself, you may eat into your profit and you may not even break even again. But if you use this model of using the existing data you have and you put it in Facebook and create a custom audience, it can make sense. The other thing you can also do is to create another version of your company, then sell the license to somebody in another state to still use and partner with maybe Jumia, with Konga, and you collect money for the license. And that is how to actually make a lot of money. And that is the same thing Jumia is doing. Jumia will go to developed country. The owner of Jumia go to developed country, get an idea that is already working perfectly, bring it to Nigeria. They look at what is the issue in Nigeria, which is trust. Then they bring in pay on delivery, they crash the market. So they are also competing with Amazon, but it's a smart cloning in another region. By the time they now sell to the owner of the idea, Amazon can easily penetrate Africa because Jumia has already penetrated like 7 countries. So you can also use the same thing. This is your system. This is your business, build into a system, sell the franchise to somebody else. Then that person can partner with Konga. With that, it doesn't affect anything in your relationship because you're not the person running the business. But of course, you still have your own loyalty. So I don't put all your egg in one basket, a basket that you cannot protect. Because in 2017, I sold on Jumia. I did over 50 million on Jumia. I also have a store on Amazon. One thing about Jumia is that once they see somebody else that have a better deal, they can push you away. You are not in total control. So
okay, so let's round up. So let's round up, right? So let's round up, right? It was nice being here with you guys. Let me just do a quick summary. Remember, a business is supposed to be a vehicle. A business is supposed are running businesses that is taking away their life instead of helping them.
Isu, you're muted. Please unmute yourself.
Oh, do you know I didn't even realize that?
Please repeat everything in the last 30 seconds.
Okay, all right, no problem. So I'll try to do a quick summary, right? A business is supposed to be a vehicle to bring you as the owner more life. Your business is probably taking away more life than giving you life, right? Because of how you're running it. You're burning down, you're shouting, you're screaming, you're depressed, you're upset, you're stressed. The only way to do that is to create systems. And to create systems is to create different type of systems. A system will move from being a technician to being a manager and then eventually an entrepreneur. Technician supplies the output, which anybody can do, right? This technician thing is where people die saying that they're passionate about their business. Easily, they say if you want to get things done, do it yourself. Okay, you don't need to do anything yourself. Hire people that can do it. This passion thing is a low. I think passion and hard work is a low-level conversation. So I hear when people make noise, and I used to be like that. So I used to brag about how I sleep only 3 hours, 4 hours in a day. Oga, you are just rehearsing for death by sleeping 3, 4 hours in a day. God did not design you to sleep 3, 4 hours in a day. I've heard ultimate Dangote having this conversation. Oh, hard work is everything. I sleep 3 hours in a day. For Oga, Jeff Bezos is probably 100 times richer than Dangote. Oga sleeps 7 hours in a day. There has to be a better way of running a business. Right? And this passion, I'm passionate about it. If I'm not, there are things you have to do in life that you're not passionate about. End of story. I don't think Dangote is passionate about cement. There's nothing to be passionate about in selling cement. Or guy is passionate about the vision he's going into and not the product he's selling. Leave all this passion about your product. It is self-sabotage and it's shortchanging. You leave passion for low-level conversations. You get to a point where, look, and it's a stage where I'm in, right? I want to sit in every meeting and do strategy sessions because I'm passionate about strategy with my clients. Okay, I'm in this stage right now where I don't have to sit down in every strategy sessions. Hire smart, young, first-class students who can see strategy sessions while I chase big vision. And I think that's how the only way you can scale. So systemization is about moving from being that passionate technician to being a manager and eventual entrepreneur. A manager supplies a technician supplies the output. A manager supplies the order, the processes, and the interdependency of systems. The entrepreneur supplies the business acumen and the vision, right? And to create these systems, you have to have 6 systems that works. One is primary aim system. Primary aim system defines your big goals, your vision, your mission, why you do it, right? The second one is strategic objective system. Strategic objective system defines your keys to success. What are the key 7 steps, or what are 7 things you must do? So, for example, I must hire young people. I must have people on a retainership. I must have a residency. These are my keys to success. That if you take it out, I'm just like any other business. Then the third one is an organizational strategy system. This is where you define your ground rules, your organogram, your JDs, your positions, your SOPs. Then the fourth one is management strategy system. Management system is your checklist, right? And your look of success for each activity. So activity-based conversations and management-based conversations. Then people strategy system is where you system to help tell your employees that you take them serious, from how you onboard them to how you train them to how you measure their performance to how you remember the ultimate rule of appraisal is let appraisals be done every month, let reports be sent every day, let meetings be done every week, and then ensure that your appraiser follows the formula A plus B plus C plus D plus E minus A plus B plus C plus D minus E, which is our own Xavier formula for appraisal. A is your own appraisal, right? The self-appraisal of the person, because let the person appraise himself, right? Which takes the lowest mark, maybe 5%. Then 20% will be the supervisor appraising, and that 20% being, which is the C, being every organization appraising the same person, right? Of course, they're all appraising for different things, right? And then you have the D, which is the exam, and then the minus E, the E here being the deductions from all of the penalty grid and queries that you've got. So ensure that you give queries a lot in your company. Want people feel to give queries and let them know that each query given has a penalty and an appraisal and affect the appraisal. They will try not to. Imagine going to school without exam and without knowing that you can fail. Imagine living life and not knowing that there's and not thinking that there's heaven and there's hell. I think heaven and hell sort of puts us all in check. The same way exams and failing puts us all in check in school. You have to have something that puts people in check, which is queries, penalties, and appraisals, right? And we talked about marketing strategy systems. Let me end this conversation with a story, right? It's a story that was told by one of the brands I think is the most powerful systemized brands in the world, which is IBM. So this conversation is from Thomas Watson. Now, Thomas Watson happens to be the founder of IBM. IBM for years, for almost 100 years, was one of the biggest companies in the world, right? Of course, before the new generations of HPs and Apple, Macintosh came. They're still big. They're still very big. I think they're today what we call Lenovo or so. Now, IBM says, now the Watson says at IBM, right, where what we are today, a Fortune 100 company, because of three reasons. The first reason is at the very beginning, I had a very clear picture of what the company would look like when it was finally done. Clear picture of what the company would look like, which is that primary goal system. So the first picture was what the company would look like when it was finally done. Now, the second reason was I had a picture of myself, right? And how the company will look like and how we all will act, which is the people system. So you have a system what the company will look like. They have a system, you have a picture of what the company will look like. Then you have a picture of what you and every other person inside will look like, right? Right? And then the third reason was for IBM to have been successful, I realized that unless we begin to act the way we were, unless we begin to act the way we are from the beginning, we will never. The third reason for IBM of being successful was I realized that unless we began to act that way from the very beginning, we will never get there. Now, here's the thing. When you define that long vision, you start to pretend like you're already it. Like that convention that I like to say, you cannot feature in a future you cannot picture, right? So when you say, which is that convention we had also last time when we talked about the be, do, have in goal setting, define what you want to be, then start to act like what you want to be. So if I say I want to be a billionaire, I will start acting like I'm a billionaire, even though I don't have money in my pockets. So I don't talk like a poor man. I don't act like a poor man. I don't go to where poor people go to. I don't discuss the kind of things poor people discuss. So possible. And I think that that's a major part. And I think that's a major part of the conversation, right? So guys, with this, we call it a day. We close the curtain, right? Please, I'm going to ask everybody here for a favor. Please turn on your video just for a few minutes, a few seconds, right? And let somebody please give us a vote of thanks, right? And I hope this was worth your time. Now, if this was worth your time, do me two things. One, turn off your video, right? So I can give shout out to everybody here. You guys have been amazing for 2 straight hours. You've been on a Zoom meeting, right? Then if wherever system you head off from, because we talked about a referral system, please go back to that system you head us from. Whether it's a WhatsApp group you head us from, please go to the WhatsApp group, click or reply to the link of this advert, the flyer that we sent, and tell them that you had an amazing time, right, with us. If you heard us on Facebook, do a post about it, put up on your WhatsApp status a screen grab of this session, give us testimonial.